Hi and welcome back. We are in Rockdale City again, some distance from the main part of the city, and we are looking at this continuous flow intersection here that connects the two important roads going to the more remote areas of the city. Now, at first in here, I wanted to build something very similar, if not exactly the same, as the intersection that we featured in the last video, in the tips and tricks, the simple continuous flow intersection. But later I wanted to build something a bit more interesting. I actually built that simple continuous flow intersection some distance from this particular area, but I wanted to move the roads to have some space for different projects. And since we have a lot of space in here, and this is going to be a kind of a rural area almost, with no buildings around the intersection, I wanted to build something more complicated. Now in here I'm using these gravel roads to kind of mark the locations of some important nodes or important changes in the shape so that I can exactly measure it on all four directions from the intersection. Now I was following a picture or a schematic of this particular intersection from the real life standards that I actually linked with the previous video. I'm probably going to link them again. Hopefully the link is now going to be working, because there is a very nice schematic picture of this particular intersection that looks pretty much exactly like the intersection that I built here. Now, like I said, I wanted to use these gravel paths to kind of mark. Well, first I needed to mark some kind of a point 0, in the intersection that every measurement is going to go from. That's going to be the point inside the intersection. Obviously, had to be a bit more creative there to get that point, because I used obviously road anarchy a lot to create the two directions of the two individual roads, or the two individual streets. And later I discovered, well, actually at probably this point, that the schematic in that particular standard that I was following is not symmetrical, and the intersection had the same look-in connections only on two directions from the intersection, and completely different look-in connections on the remaining connections, or directions from the intersection, which was making things a bit more complicated, obviously, with these gravel paths, because I wanted to do that on all four directions, simultaneously, but it was kind of clear that it was not looking the same. So I had to change it, but it was actually for the better. I wanted to create it some, a bit more interesting, somewhat. So making it non-symmetrical, making the intersection look a bit different in some places is definitely going to look nice in the end. Now, the most critical part of this intersection is the displaced left turn. That's obviously the main feature of this intersection as well in real life, or in any kind of design of this particular intersection type. So that's going to be something that I'm going to show you here in just a second. So I had to use a lot of invisible roads. Well, I didn't need to, but it kind of felt like it was going to be more convenient, because I wanted to do detailing of this intersection anyway. So, covering everything with ploppable asphalt would not be that big of a deal. I definitely experimented with this a lot. I used all kinds of road connections here, the invisible ones, as well as the vanilla roads and some network extension roads. And as you can see, I was kind of, fighting this connection, because cars were either just doing completely weird motions or just slowing down like this because the roads were too short, the connections were too short, or the segments were too distorted, the nodes were too distorted, something like that. I later wanted to redo it so that I was actually not doing an intersection there. As you can see, I was just overlapping the roads like that, which obviously made it look quite bad, and the cars obviously completely unrealistic because they were just crashing into each other. But later I was using some invisible roads to actually create intersections exactly before the overlapping area on both of those roads, so that later I can just select those two nodes and basically treat them as one intersection with the custom traffic lights. Now, similar situation, well, actually, completely different situation happened on those two different looking directions from the intersection. As you can see in here, we have kind of an X shape of that displaced left turn intersection, or sub-intersection, I should call it. Now in here, we are back here, and as you can see, I'm creating those invisible road connections like that, and basically testing it if cars actually going to stop at the place where I want them to stop. And this was perfect. This was actually very, very good. Now, obviously, this is going to get detailed, ploppable asphalt everywhere, and road markings, you know, all the good stuff. All the good stuff that makes all the intersections look really good. Now, this was definitely looking or shaping up to be a really good looking place, and I definitely liked it. And this was something that I achieved pretty much after one stream, I believe. I had the basic shape of the intersection done. I wanted to create a tram road through the intersection area. I decided that I want to have it sunken, and I wanted to use something new in here. I wanted to detail some kind of a bridge a bit more, so I did this little like prefabricated arch concrete bridge like that, and obviously did it so that the highway on top of it, the highway roads on top of it are on the surface, which obviously means that everything is going to get distorted and those weird shadows are going to appear there, which obviously means that detailing was necessary, some heavy detailing. It was time to start creating the road markings. I was basically doing exactly the same thing that I did back with the median U-turn intersection. I was using the same standards, the same thicknesses for all the lines, and I was just trying to make it look pretty much the same with the lines and the style. Had to obviously use ploppable asphalt quite excessively a lot in these areas. And since this intersection is built, well, I obviously made it a bit easier for myself to create the two streets connected at 90 degrees so that I don't need to, do all the lines separately on each connection. So I had to, well, I was able to use a lot of copy-paste in some of the areas. Now, this merging lane was actually something quite interesting. I used the 4-lane road, and then I covered, as you can see here, and banned traffic on that road or the lane that I completely disabled, that I completely covered with gravel. Now in here, this is what I was talking about earlier. I just basically stopped the game when cars were stopping at that invisible intersection, and basically copied all the stopping, the threshold markers to exactly the position where cars had to stop for the intersection, and it actually turned out looking really good. Now these little weird roads there were basically the ends of those invisible roads, so that I don't get those flashing road not connected signs. I'm not sure why I got them actually. Maybe I could have used a different invisible road, so I would not get that, but with ploppable grass, it doesn't really matter. A lot of copy paste in this area, as you can see. Like I said, the intersection is kind of symmetrical, at least some segments of it or some elements of the intersection are symmetrical, so I could copy paste pretty much all of it, and this is how it looked like. This is how it looked like, already starting to look almost real. But the most important thing with every intersection are obviously the arrows. The arrows are just making the intersections look more alive, kind of. I always say it when I create some intersections, that when you start creating the arrows, it's like the point when it starts looking like an intersection. Now, these crossings for the tram, I wanted to create something really nice. I wanted to decorate these entrances here with the prefabricated tube segment of that underpass, maybe I should call it. And I definitely wanted to, well, I needed to decorate it with a lot of trees, obviously to hide all the inconsistencies in the design and all the gaps, fill all the holes with something, because obviously the props are not exactly aligning with the concrete tube. I had to use a lot of prop vegetation, because I don't use I'm not sure what it's called, the tree mod that allows you to raise trees because there is some incompatibility with the unlimited tree mod, which I definitely need to use for the city. So I had to use a lot of prop vegetation because props, obviously, you can move up and down. This was supposed to be the roof vegetation, I believe. Also, obviously, we need to create some kind of barriers on top here. I had to use these concrete barriers. I downloaded some realistic steel railings, I believe, or safety railing for the roads, but it was terrain conforming, which means that I couldn't move it up and down, pretty much just like the trees. And in here, I kind of went on kind of a spree with placing all these trees. I definitely overlapped a lot of them, placed a lot of trees. This area, when I was looking at this area, when nothing was built there, I got maybe like 40 FPS, maybe 50, close to 50. And when I was finished, I probably got maybe like 15 or something. So definitely overdid it a lot with the trees and vegetation, but it turned out really nice looking. And this was the result. This was the entire intersection done. I was really satisfied with the result. The traffic on it is not that heavy, and maybe I'm going to try to push some residential areas around these roads that are connecting here, just so I can get some more traffic here, and it's actually going to look like the intersection is quite busy. Really satisfied with the tunnel entrances, or sorry, the bridge entrances. Technically, it's a bridge in here for the tram and the cyclist road. Really nice looking. Anyway, guys, that was the continuous flow intersection. Hoped you liked it. I definitely did. It's probably going to be my favorite area of the city so far. And anyway, guys, thank you for watching again, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and goodbye.